Catherine Zeta-Jones is much more than a talented, Oscar-winning actress. Behind the scenes, she faced one of the most difficult battles of her life: bipolar disorder type II. In this video you will learn about Catherine's entire journey, from her childhood in Wales, her rise to stardom in Hollywood, her marriage to Michael Douglas, to her mental health challenges and her fight against the stigma of psychological illnesses. She faced the pressure of fame, the diagnosis of bipolar disorder, the challenges in her marriage and the impact on her family. But above all, she rose again, found balance and continues to shine in film and TV, enchanting new generations with roles such as Morticia Addams in the Netflix series Wednesday. If you could go back in time and walk through the quiet streets of Swansea, a small village in Wales, you might find a girl with bright eyes and a mischievous smile running between the stone houses, with a dream much bigger than her city could contain. That girl was Catherine Zeta-Jones. From a very young age, Catherine had a unique energy. While other children played with dolls or climbed trees, she was on stage. At just 4 years old, she was already enchanting everyone by dancing and singing in local shows. And she wasn't just a talented child, she shone as if she had been born for it. Her charisma and passion were so intense that no one doubted. This little girl was destined for something great. Her parents noticed their daughter's gift and decided to invest in her dream. They didn't have a luxurious life, but they did everything they could to ensure that Catherine had ballet, theater and singing lessons. And that's how, while still a child, she was already performing professionally. But none of this happened without sacrifice. While other children were having fun, Catherine was rehearsing tirelessly. She often stayed up late practicing her dance moves and memorizing lines. The desire to be a star burned inside her like an unquenchable fire. And then, at the age of 15, came the big turning point. She landed a role in the musical Bugsy Malone, and her life would never be the same again. That girl from Swansea was just beginning her journey to stardom. Now tell me, have you ever had a dream so big that it seemed impossible? Well, Catherine had one too. But she didn't stop until she made it come true. But before we continue, make sure you are subscribed to the channel and activate the bell so you don't miss any updates. Leave your like and share with your friends. Take the opportunity to leave your comment below and tell me what you think. The first big opportunity. Just imagine. A teenager of just 15 years old, full of dreams, talent and determination, but still unknown to the world. Catherine Zeta-Jones knew she had something special, but she needed the right opportunity to prove it. And that chance didn't take long to arrive. After years of dedication, endless rehearsals and minor performances, Catherine landed a role in the musical Bugsy Malone. It was the first time she had stepped onto the stage for real, with an audience that wasn't just her friends and neighbors. And she shone. Her talent was so evident that it didn't take long for theater directors and producers to start paying attention to this young Welsh girl. And then came the big leap. She was chosen to play the lead role in the stage version of 42nd Street in London. Now think about it. Thousands of young people dream of this kind of opportunity, but few get it. In Catherine's case, it was even more unbelievable. Do you know why? Because the day before the show's premiere, the lead actress fell ill. That's right. And who was called to replace her? Catherine Zeta-Jones. It was a moment of pure nervousness and adrenaline. She had rehearsed, knew every step, every line, but she never imagined that she would take on the lead role so soon. At just 17 years old, she walked onto the stage with her heart racing, knowing that this was the most important moment of her life so far. And then, she put on a show. The audience gave a standing ovation, the critics praised her performance, and in an instant, Catherine Zeta-Jones was no longer just another talented young woman. She was a star of the London stage. But that was just the beginning. Something much bigger was about to happen. And Hollywood was already starting to take notice of this promising young woman. Now tell me, have you ever had to face a big challenge without warning? How did you react? Because Catherine, well, she took the stage and made history. Hollywood calls. The rise to stardom. Now imagine this scene. A talented young woman fresh off the London stage, full of dreams and ready to conquer the world. Catherine Zeta-Jones had already proven herself to be a star on the stage, but her heart told her that this was just the beginning. And she was right. After the huge success of 42nd Street, Catherine began receiving invitations to television. Her first big role came in the British series The Darling Buds of May, released in the early 90s. And it wasn't just any role. The series became one of the biggest hits on British TV, making her face known in every home in the United Kingdom. She was no longer just a promising young woman. Catherine Zeta-Jones was now a TV star. But you know that feeling that something was missing? Catherine felt it all the time. She wanted to go further. She wanted Hollywood. And then the opportunity of her dreams knocked on her door. In 1998, she received an invitation that would change her life forever. An audition for the role of Elena Montero in The Mask of Zorro, alongside Antonio Banderas and directed by the legendary Steven Spielberg. But there was one detail. This role wasn't for just any actress. The character needed to be strong, elegant, mysterious, and at the same time have a captivating presence. Many actresses tried out, but Spielberg wanted something special. When Catherine showed up for the audition, it only took him a few minutes to be sure. She was the perfect choice. And that's how the young woman from Swansea, who started out dancing and singing on small stages, was now starring in a Hollywood film alongside established stars. But don't think it was easy. To play Elena Montero, Catherine had to train intensely. Fencing, action scenes, horseback riding, speaking fluent Spanish. She dedicated herself like never before. And when the film finally premiered, it was a huge success. The public fell in love with her. Critics praised her performance, and Hollywood finally took notice. A new star had been born. But with fame comes challenges. And from that moment on, Catherine's life would never be the same again. Now tell me, have you ever had that moment that changed everything in your life? Because for Catherine, this film was the turning point. And the best was yet to come. The marriage with Michael Douglas. Just imagine. You are at the height of your career, newly arrived in Hollywood, shining in the movies, and suddenly, you meet someone who completely changes your life. That is exactly what happened to Catherine Zeta-Jones. After the success of The Mask of Zorro, Catherine began attending the most exclusive events in Hollywood. And it was at one of these events at the Deauville Film Festival in France in 1998 that she met Michael Douglas. Now, here is an important detail. Michael was already a renowned star and Oscar winner, starring in iconic films such as Wall Street and Fatal Attraction. Plus, he was 25 years older than Catherine. But guess what? None of that mattered. Michael fell in love with Catherine at first sight and, without wasting any time, sent a message through mutual friends to get to know her better. But do you know what he said when he finally managed to talk to her? "I want to be the father of your children." That's right. Straight to the point. Catherine thought it was funny but also a bit hasty. She, who had always been independent and focused on her career, didn't want to get involved right away. So she took a step back. But Michael Douglas didn't give up. For months, he insisted, sent flowers, called her, and did everything to prove that he was serious. And little by little, Catherine began to realize that this man was not just a Hollywood hunk. He was kind, passionate, and willing to fight for her. The romance grew, and on December 31, 1999, at the turn of the millennium, Michael Douglas proposed to Catherine Zeta-Jones. And that's when one of the most luxurious weddings in Hollywood took place. On November 18, 2000, they made their union official at the famous The Plaza Hotel in New York, in a ceremony worthy of a fairy tale. The party cost over $1.5 million, had heavy security to protect against paparazzi, and was attended by celebrities such as Sean Connery and Tom Hanks. But more important than all the ostentation, it was the love between the two that won over the public. They seemed perfect for each other. A powerful, glamorous, and passionate couple. Soon after, their children came along. Dylan Michael Douglas, born in 2000, and Karis Zeta Douglas, born in 2003. The family seemed complete, and Catherine was living a true dream. But life is not a fairy tale all the time, and challenges were about to knock on the couple's door. Now tell me, do you believe that true love can overcome any obstacle? Because for Catherine and Michael, the challenges were just beginning. The Oscar and the peak of their career. Now imagine this. You are a talented actress, you have arrived in Hollywood, you have landed a leading role, and now the whole world is watching you. But how do you prove that you're not just a pretty face? How do you show that you're a real artist? For Catherine Zeta-Jones, the answer came in the form of one of the most iconic films of her career, Chicago, 2002. After The Mask of Zorro and other hits, Catherine was already a star in Hollywood, but she still needed a role that would prove her talent beyond her beauty and charisma. And then the perfect opportunity arose. The musical Chicago, an adaptation of the Broadway classic. The film needed an actress who could sing, dance, and act with the same intensity. And who better than Catherine, who had already shown on the London stage years before? But you'd be wrong if you thought it was easy. To win the role of Velma Kelly, she had to compete with other powerful Hollywood actresses. But there was one detail that made all the difference. She didn't have to pretend she could dance. She really could. And when filming began, she simply stole the show. With each musical number, with each look full of attitude and strength, Catherine showed that she wasn't there to be a supporting actress in her own career. She wanted to make history. And she did. When Chicago premiered, the audience was fascinated. Critics were won over by her talent. And then came the most anticipated moment. In 2003, Catherine Zeta-Jones won the Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. Think about it. A girl from Wales who started out on the small stage was now on top of the world, holding the most coveted golden statuette in cinema. And the best part? She was pregnant with her second child at the time of the awards ceremony. She went up on stage in tears, thanking her family, friends, and her husband, Michael Douglas, who was in the audience giving her a standing ovation. That night marked the peak of Catherine's career. She was no longer just a Hollywood actress. She was an Oscar winner. But, as they say, the greater the success, the greater the pressure. And in the years that followed, Catherine would begin to feel the weight of being in the spotlight. Now tell me, have you ever achieved a great goal and then realized that you had to deal with unexpected challenges? Catherine was about to face the greatest one yet. Pressure and the early signs of bipolar disorder. Now imagine that you have reached the top. You have achieved your greatest dream, won an Oscar, have a beautiful family and an enviable career. But suddenly the shine begins to fade, and you don't understand why. That's exactly what happened to Catherine Zeta-Jones. After winning the Oscar for Chicago, her life seemed perfect. She was a star in Hollywood, married to Michael Douglas, and had 2 wonderful children. The world saw glamour, success, and happiness. But behind the scenes, something wasn't right. The pressure of Hollywood began to weigh on Catherine. The intense work pace, the constant spotlight, the merciless criticism, and the need to always be perfect began to wear her down. And then came the first big blow. In 2010, her husband, Michael Douglas, was diagnosed with aggressive throat cancer. The news hit like a bombshell. Catherine, who had always been strong and in control, found herself completely vulnerable. The fear of losing the man she loved, the need to be strong for her children, and the constant media attention caused her to enter a cycle of stress and anxiety. She tried to hide it. She tried to keep working, smiling for the flashes, pretending that everything was fine. But inside, an emotional storm was brewing. Catherine began to suffer from intense mood swings. At times, she felt uncontrollable energy doing 1,000 things at once. But suddenly, it was as if the world lost its color. She would fall into a deep sadness for no apparent reason, feeling exhausted and unwilling to get out of bed. No one understood what was happening. Not even her. The public and the media began to notice that something was different. Some thought it was just the stress of life as an actress. But the truth was much more serious. Catherine was facing an internal battle that no one could see. It was a difficult time. But this phase was essential for her to make one of the most important decisions of her life: to seek help. Because sometimes, the greatest strength lies in admitting that you need support. Now tell me, have you ever gone through a time when you felt like you needed to be strong for others, but deep down you were falling apart? Catherine was about to discover that recognizing her vulnerability would be the first step towards healing. The diagnosis of bipolar disorder type II. Now imagine this. You feel lost, your mind oscillates between moments of intense energy and others of deep sadness. You don't understand why. Everything seems out of control. That's how Catherine Zeta-Jones felt for a long time. After years of trying to hide her emotional ups and downs, the impact of Michael Douglas cancer was the trigger. She could no longer maintain the facade of a perfect Hollywood star. The crises became more intense. Sometimes she felt an absurd amount of energy wanting to do everything at once. But suddenly, it was as if a dark cloud took over her mind, bringing sadness, insecurity, and exhaustion. She tried to resist. She tried to act as if nothing was happening. But there were times when she simply could not get out of bed. And that was when the most important decision came: to seek professional help. In 2011, Catherine finally received a diagnosis that explained everything she was feeling: bipolar disorder type II. And now you may be wondering, what does that mean? Bipolar disorder type 2 is a condition that causes extreme mood swings. But unlike type 1, where episodes of euphoria, mania, are intense and can lead to impulsive behavior, type 2 brings hypomania, which are periods of high energy followed by deep and persistent depression. For Catherine, receiving this diagnosis was a shock, but also a relief. Finally, she had an answer. Finally, she understood that it wasn't weakness or a whim. It was a real condition that needed to be treated. But there was one problem. Hollywood wasn't kind to people who admitted to having mental illnesses. At the time, there was a strong stigma surrounding mental disorders. Many celebrities avoided talking about the subject for fear of losing roles, contracts, or being seen as unstable. Catherine knew this, but she made a brave decision anyway. She decided to go public with her diagnosis. And that's when she did something that few celebrities dared to do at the time: speak openly about her struggle. In interviews, Catherine has opened up about what it was like living with bipolar disorder, how the ups and downs affected her life, and how family support and proper treatment were making a difference. She wanted people to understand that having a mental illness is nothing to be ashamed of. And her courage inspired thousands of people around the world. But that didn't mean the journey would be easy. On the contrary, the challenges were just beginning. Now tell me, have you ever had a moment when discovering something about yourself was both a relief and a challenge? Because for Catherine, accepting her condition was just the first step. From then on, she would have to fight every day to maintain her balance. The fight against the stigma of mental illness. Now imagine being at the height of your career with millions of fans around the world, and having to admit something that society still judged as weakness. You have a mental illness. That's exactly what Catherine Zeta-Jones faced. After being diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 2, she had to make a difficult decision. Keep the problem a secret to protect her career, or talk about it and help destigmatize mental illness. In 2011, Catherine publicly revealed that she was dealing with bipolar disorder and that she had sought treatment. She didn't want to hide it. She didn't want to pretend that nothing was happening. On the contrary, she wanted to use her voice to help other people who were going through the same problem. But the media's reaction wasn't easy at all. Many outlets treated the news as if it were a scandal. Exaggerated headlines said things like, "Catherine Zeta-Jones hospitalized for mental problems. Michael Douglas' wife faces nervous breakdown." The tabloids turned her struggle into a sensationalist, creating a circus around her mental health. It was exactly this kind of prejudice that made many people hide their illnesses. And the worst part? Some Hollywood producers started to avoid casting her in big roles. Suddenly, Catherine was no longer seen as just a talented actress. She was the actress with bipolar disorder. But do you know what she did? Instead of backing down, Catherine continued to speak openly about her condition. She participated in interviews, gave strong statements, and showed that living with a mental disorder does not mean being weak. It means being human. "If my story can help even one person seek treatment without fear, then it was worth it," she said in an interview. With this stance, Catherine helped change the way the world viewed mental disorders. Her courage encouraged other celebrities and ordinary people to talk about their own battles. She showed that it is possible to have a full and successful life, even when facing a challenge like bipolar disorder. But the fight did not end there. She still had to learn to balance her personal life, her career, and her mental health. In the following years, she returned to film and TV with renewed energy. One of the most memorable moments of this return was her participation in the film The Nutcracker and the Four Realms, 2018, where she played the dazzling Mother Ginger. And more recently, in 2022, Catherine won over a new generation of fans when she played Morticia Addams in the hit Netflix series Wednesday. Now think about it. She came out of a difficult period where she doubted herself, where the media tried to bring her down, where Hollywood left her aside, and came back with everything stronger than ever. But do you know what was the biggest difference this time? She learned to set limits. Unlike in the past, when the pressure to be perfect consumed her, now Catherine Zeta-Jones knew exactly how far she wanted to go. She started choosing projects that respected her time, her mental health, and her happiness. Instead of chasing Hollywood, she made Hollywood come to her. And that's how Catherine proved that no matter how many times life tries to knock you down, there's always a way to get back up, stronger and wiser. Now tell me, have you ever had to take a step back and then come back even stronger? Because that's exactly what Catherine did. And it worked. The routine to maintain balance. Now think about it. You faced a big battle in life, overcome challenges and found your way back. But now what? How do you maintain that balance and make sure everything turns out okay? That's exactly what Catherine Zeta-Jones had to learn. After years of struggling with the ups and downs of bipolar disorder type II, she realized that the key to a healthy life wasn't just in medical treatments or her career, but in her daily life, in the way she took care of herself. So she created a rigorous self-care routine. And here are some things that made and still make all the difference in her life. Meditation and mindfulness. Catherine learned to control her mind before her mind controlled her. She started practicing meditation daily to better deal with anxiety and keep her thoughts organized. Physical exercise. Dancing has always been a passion of hers, so she brought it back into her routine. She also adopted activities like Pilates and yoga, which helped not only her body, but also her mind. Healthy eating. She realized that what she ate had a direct impact on her mood and energy. So she adopted a balanced diet, rich in natural foods and antioxidants, to keep her body and mind in balance. Therapy and psychological support. Even after receiving the appropriate treatment, Catherine did not give up on psychiatric and psychological support. She understood that mental health is something that needs to be taken care of always, and not just in times of crisis. Quality time with family. While her life used to revolve around her career, her children and husband were now her priority. She began to value simple moments, family trips, movie nights at home, quiet dinners away from the spotlight. Saying no without guilt. This was perhaps one of the biggest changes. In the past, Catherine would overwhelm herself trying to meet everyone's expectations. But now she has learned to set boundaries, choose the right projects and prioritize her happiness. Connecting with nature. Another powerful change has been spending more time outdoors. Catherine and her family have a home outside of Hollywood, where she connects with nature, plants flowers, tends to the garden and breathes fresh air, away from the hustle and bustle of the city. But the most important lesson? I finally learned that my well-being comes before anything else. If I'm not feeling good about myself, nothing around me will be. And so with these small changes, Catherine Zeta-Jones has found a new balance. Now tell me, is there anything in your routine that helps you maintain balance? What makes you feel good in your day-to-day life? Because at the end of the day, it's these little things that keep us going. An icon of resilience and inspiration. Now imagine this. You've been through ups and downs, faced challenges that could have destroyed you, but instead, you used each one to become stronger. That's exactly what Catherine Zeta-Jones did. After everything she faced, the overwhelming success, the pressure of Hollywood, the diagnosis of bipolar disorder type II, the impact on her family and her fight against the stigma of mental illness, Catherine not only survived but flourished. And do you know what the big difference is between someone who falls and someone who gets back up? The way they face challenges. She could have chosen silence, she could have walked away from Hollywood and let her career die. But instead she decided to use her story to help others. Catherine has become a symbol of resilience, showing that it is possible to live a full and happy life even when facing internal challenges. Her courage in speaking out about mental health has helped open doors for other celebrities and for millions of ordinary people around the world who suffered in silence. Her impact has been so great that she has become a role model for women, mothers, artists and anyone who has ever had to face their own emotional battles. In addition, Catherine has reinvented herself professionally. If before her career was defined only by big roles in the movies, now she chooses projects that make sense to her. She returned to television with full force, winning over new generations of fans with her role as Morticia Addams in Wednesday, proving that her presence on screen is still powerful and magnetic. But above all, Catherine Zeta-Jones has proven that no one needs to be defined by their challenges. She is not just the talented and Oscar-winning actress. She is not just Michael Douglas' wife. She is not just a woman with bipolar disorder. She is a strong, determined, inspiring woman who owns her own story. And now tell me, who are you beyond the challenges you have faced? What truly defines you? Because if there is one thing that Catherine's journey teaches us, it is that we are much more than the difficulties we face. Now imagine looking back and seeing everything you have overcome. Every obstacle, every tear, every moment of uncertainty. And realizing that, instead of bringing you down, they have transformed you into the strong person you are today. This is the story of Catherine Zeta-Jones. She started out as a dreamy girl in Wales, conquered the world with her talent, faced battles that few knew about and refused to be defined by difficulties. Today her legacy goes far beyond the screen. In cinema, she has left us unforgettable performances and continues to gift us with her art. In her personal life, she built a beautiful family and became an example of strength and overcoming. In mental health, she helped break the taboo about psychological disorders, showing that no one is alone in this struggle. And perhaps this is the greatest lesson of her journey. You can fall, but you can always get up. You can have difficult days, but you will never be alone. And now I ask you, what is your story of overcoming? Have you ever gone through difficult times and managed to turn things around? Comment below because your journey can also inspire other people. If you like this story and want more content about the lives of great personalities, subscribe to the channel, activate the bell and leave a like. This helps a lot so that we can continue bringing incredible stories to you. And remember, everyone has challenges, but what really matters is how we choose to face them. See you in the next video.